Hello, my name is Sally Pinto, and I'm the Program Director for the Yonkers Newark Neighborhood Naturally Occurring Retirement Community. We serve seniors 60 plus in Northeast Yonkers. We are under the auspices of WJCS and the Yonkers Office for the Aging. We also have a resource specialist and a nurse on staff. We conduct virtual programming in partnership with the Yonkers Public Library on a daily basis. Enjoy the program.
Thank you. So if you were just coming in, I was just saying, I won't specifically use any crazy props, but I always recommend having like a pillow or like a block substitute that you can bring under your hands for extra support and make your arms longer to put to support as we're laying down. And anything else that you know you might like. I won't specifically use anything, but I always encourage the use of props if you need them. So let's start laying on our backs today. At any point you hear squeaking or see a little puppy run through, I have a brand new puppy I've had for a couple of weeks, so she's confused when I teach sometimes. So she's like, why are you on the floor? So we'll start on our backs, and you can be in any comfortable position on your back. So your feet can be on the ground, you can have your legs out in front of you, and I always really encourage, just kind of like when you first get there, kind of moving around as much as you need and wiggling out those spots that might need it. Just to settle in. For me, I always like need to kind of rock out my back a little bit when I first lay down. And let's bring your hands on your belly. So I don't care where your legs end up right now, but let's start to bring our hands on our belly, but to a place where our elbows can rest on the floor. So we can just start to feel the expansion of the breath. Feel the belly rise and fall as we inhale and exhale. I invite you to just bring your focus to the movement of the belly as you breathe. You begin to hear noises around you and feel yourself being pulled away from the focus on the breath. Just see if you can start to bring the attention back to the palms of the hands. Maybe there's a little heat building where your hands are on your belly. If you feel yourself starting to get distracted with thoughts, to-do lists, anything like that, I always say to allow the thought to finish. Don't cut it off completely. And then once the thought is finished, bring yourself back to your breath. And it's okay if it continuously comes up throughout our practice this morning. But just always bring yourself back to the movement of the breath. Let's just find 3 more rounds of breath here. So feel the belly rise and fall. Maybe feeling the back body soften into the floor just a little bit more. After your third round of breath, if your feet aren't already on the floor, just start to bend your knees and plant your feet on the floor. And you can bring your arms out into a T. So you might feel that residual heat from the palms of the hands on the belly. And just start to take your feet a little bit wider than your hips. So if you're on a mat, you can kind of find the edges of the mat. Or just feel like they're a little bit wider than the hips. And just start to rock the knees nice and slow from side to side. And then maybe that movement starts to get a little bit bigger. So think of your knees as windshield wipers. And the rain started out as a drizzle and it's just starting to get a little bit heavier. So you're just making that motion a little bigger. And maybe it even starts to get so big that the opposite hip, so like if your knees are to the left, your right hip starts to lift up off the ground. You don't need to move fast, just big movements here. Let's take a couple more. So just nice and finding some dynamic stretching in the outer hips and the legs. And then allow that to start to slow, so let the movement get a little smaller. And let the knees pause as they come back up to the sky. Excuse me. Start to hug your right knee into the chest. Just give it a little squeeze. You can hold the top of the knee, you can hold behind the thigh, or you can even hold the pants. And just start to move the knee a little bit side to side. So you're moving the knee, but try to feel that movement come right from the hip joint. So just finding a little bit of space in the hip socket. And start to take that knee in circles. It might feel a little activating in the leg. That's okay. And then just reverse the circle, so go in the opposite direction. And then release the knee to the floor and let your left knee come into the chest. And again, we'll find that same movement. So a little rocking from side to side. Doesn't matter where your hands are holding the leg. And then start to take the knee in circles. You might notice that your sides feel a little different. Just finding the movement wherever it's at this morning, and just reverse the circle. And release the foot down and lengthen the legs out. So allow the front of the hip flexor to release. You can reach your arms up overhead and take a full body stretch. And just start to roll over to one side. It doesn't matter which side, but just pause in that fetal position. Just let the weight lift up off of the spine for a moment. Come back to your breath. So I always invite you to, if you feel like you're losing the breath, you can always bring your hand to your belly and breathing into the hand. Start to press yourself up. And just find a seated position. So that seated position can be on a blanket or on a bolster if you need a little bit of height. Cross the legs. Whatever your cross looks like, if it's too much for any reason to keep the legs crossed, you can always extend them out in front of you. That's perfect. They can be wider, they can be closer together. And when you first get here, just start to rock around any movement that you need. Changing positions, just starting to feel the rooting with your glutes to the floor now as opposed to your whole back body. You can close your eyes or just soften the gaze. And just start to feel yourself sit up nice and tall. A little roll of the shoulder heads back. And let your hands rest on your knees. Take a deep breath here. And start to reach your arms all the way up to the sky. Stretch them nice and tall. And exhale, release the arms down. Inhale, let the arms rise and reach. And exhale, release them all the way down. Inhale, let the arms rise and reach. This time as you exhale, twist over to the right. So start to bring your left hand to your knee and your right hand behind you. Feel that lengthening through the spine, and then maybe the gaze starts to come over the right shoulder. So with every inhale, feel the spine get taller. Every exhale, feel the heart open. One more breath here. Inhale, untwist, reach the arms all the way up. And exhale, twist over to the left. Let the right hand come towards the left knee or the left leg. Anywhere it lands is perfect. Left hand behind you as a kickstand. Every inhale, feel your spine grow taller. Every exhale, feel your heart open up just a little bit more. Your gaze can come over your left shoulder. Always coming back to your breath. One more. Inhale, reach the arms all the way up to the sky. Come back to center. Exhale your hands all the way down to the ground. And just start to roll your shoulders back. So just roll them back maybe about 3 times. Just feeling a little movement. And then roll them forward about 3 times. Awesome. Let's reach the arms all the way back up to the sky again, but this time instead of a twist, we're gonna take a side bend. So let your right hand come towards the floor and your left arm will reach up overhead. So keep feeling the sit bones press down and just really focus on the stretch on the whole left side of the body. Your head can be wherever is comfortable. It might feel good to bring the head down or just keep the neck in neutral. And you can always leave the arm and bring it towards the right leg, but still focusing on that side bending action. Or even bring the arm around the back. So just finding a place where the arm can rest, but you can still feel as if you're trying to create a little space in the sides of the ribs. So we're just moving the spine in every direction right now. A little twist, a little lateral bend. One more breath here. Inhale, bring the arms all the way back up. And exhale to the other side. So let the left hand come down. The right arm can stay up. And you've got those other options with the right arm. You can come a little forward or a little back, but remember we're just focusing on trying to create even just a tiny bit more space in the rib cage on the right side, getting that nice lateral stretch. Taking just one more breath here. Come all the way back up. Release the arms down. Again, you can kind of shrug the shoulders a little bit. And let's shift our perspective again and come onto our hands and our knees. Always have some padding underneath the knees. You can even have padding underneath the hands. So we've twisted the spine, we've moved it from side to side, and now let's flex and extend the spine with our cat and cow. So start to drop the belly, look forward. And then around the spine, really press the floor away, drop the head. Feel like you're trying to pull the shoulder blades away from the spine. Drop your belly, look forward, squeeze the shoulder blades together. And exhale around the spine. Couple more rounds on your own. Let your inhale bring you forward. And exhale, bring you back. One more round here. Come back into a neutral spine. Extend the right leg back behind you, but keep the toes curled under. And just press back through the heel. And then you'll start to step that right foot forward. So it doesn't matter if it takes 1 try or 100 tries. Just start to bring the right foot forward and bring your hands up onto your hips or onto your thigh. So again, always good to have some padding underneath the back knee. Even if you're on carpet and a mat. And then when we first come into stretches, I always like to find a dynamic movement. So that dynamic movement is start to pull yourself back. So really press into your front foot and then let the hips shift forward. So kind of pull yourself back just a little bit. It's okay if you're a little wobbly here. And shift the hips forward. Let's do one more. Pull the hips back. And then shift the hips forward. So we're pressing really strong in our front foot, but we're maybe hopefully feeling a stretch in the front of the left leg. But you're also pressing into the left shin for stability. You're feeling good there. Maybe reach your arms up to the sky. And start to bring your hands all the way down. Let your right knee come all the way back to meet your left. Any movement here. And step your left foot back first. So curl the toes under, hook the toes onto the floor, and just press the heel back. And step your left foot forward. You can start to bring your hands up onto your thigh or your hips or both. And let's find that little bit of dynamic movement before we pause in our low lunge. So pull the hips back, really press into your grounding. So everything that's rooting into the floor, press into it. Allow the hips to shift forward. And then pull yourself back. Let the hips shift a little forward. And pull yourself back. One more, let the hips shift forward. And pull yourself back. And this time start to let the hips shift forward and pause. And now your sides might feel a little different. So you might feel shakier on one side than the other. So come back to that grounding in the floor. Come back to your breath. Find something in front of you that you can focus on. Maybe start to reach the arms all the way up to the sky. And then bring your hands to the ground. Bring your left knee to meet the right. And let's sink your hips all the way back to your heels for a child's pose. So just taking a little bit of pressure off the tops of the knees. Taking a moment to reconnect to your breath. Let's find 2 more rounds of breath here. After your second round of breath, so if you need more, don't feel like you have to come with us right away. You'll just start to make your way back towards that tabletop position. Excuse me, curl the toes under, and then press your hips up and back into your downward dog. You can pedal out the feet when you first get here. Really find the rooting in your pointer finger and your thumb. So all the tips of the fingers are rooted down, but really let the weight kind of come into the pointer finger and thumb, so you're taking some pressure out of the heels of the hands. And your modifications in your down dog are to bend the knees if you're feeling extra tender in the backs of the legs this morning. Or you can always come back toward the tabletop position if the upside down is too much. Always check in with your body. What does it need today? Take just one more breath here, wherever you're at. And you'll start to walk your hands and your feet to meet each other in the middle of the mat. So just coming into a fold. And again, if that upside down is too much, if the heart over the head, you can always keep a little bend into your knees and kind of keep the spine nice and long like I have here. If it feels okay, you can let the upper body fall. I'm just gonna scoot the computer back so my head's not completely cut off. There we go. You can dangle a little bit in the fold. Come back to your breath always. That's your steady. And that is also your way of knowing if you're doing too much or if you have space to do a little more. So everybody start to bring your hands to the tops of the knees. Find that halfway lift position. Press into the feet and rise all the way up to stand. Reach your arms all the way up to the sky. And just take a nice full body stretch here. Really feel the arms reach up. Maybe you take a little bend from side to side. Maybe you let the back arch just a little bit. And then allow the arms to release. And then start to turn to the side of your mat. You pick your favorite side. I'm gonna face you, obviously. And then just start to take your feet wide. So come into a nice wide stance. And when you first get there, let's start from the ground up. Always just feel the feet rooting into the floor. So you might have a little bit more in the outer edges of the feet. And then reach the arms all the way up to the sky, just like we did a moment ago. The hands can interlace so they can be wide like a Y. And then bring your arms out into a T. So really reach through the fingertips, but allow the shoulders to soften. Keep that rooting in the feet, and you're even activating through the belly a little bit. Turn your right toes forward. So it doesn't matter which way you're facing on the mat, but we're all going to turn our right toes forward. And bend into your right leg. So allow the knee and the toes to track in the same direction. So that's going to help protect the knee joints. And also allow you to find a little bit of stability in the pose. You can always do what I'm doing, where I'm kind of like doing this dynamic, a little bit out, a little bit in, to find my spot this morning. Your arms are in the T, and maybe the gaze comes over the right fingertips. Warrior two. Always find the grounding in the feet. Use your breath to hold you in the space. One more breath here. Straighten your front leg. Turn your toes back to the edge of your mat. And then turn your left toes towards the back or the front, whichever way you're facing. So your left toes are pointing forward. Your back foot, your right foot is about parallel with the edge of the mat. Arms are in a T, and then just start to bend into your left leg. So again, you might find that dynamic movement as you come in. You might just be trying to find your rooting. For me, my rug's a little slippery, so I have to work a little bit harder in my grip. And then I just don't go as deep, but my muscles are working and I'm still opening my hip joint. Your gaze can come over your left fingertips. Always coming back to the breath. One more. Straighten your front leg. Turn all 10 toes to the long edge of the mat. And let's start to bring our feet all the way back together. And by back together, I mean they can touch or they can be about as wide as your hips. And just again, feel that rooting in the floor. You can close your eyes. When you close your eyes and you're just kind of standing still, and you're bringing your attention to your feet, so the bottoms of the feet, you might notice that you're swaying a little bit. And that is okay. If you feel like you're swaying a lot and you want to have a little bit more control, you can open your eyes. You'll likely still feel the sway, but you actually have the ability to focus on something out in front of you. Let's take 2 more breaths here. Just protecting the apartment. That's what the bark is. People in the hallway. One more breath. And you are welcome, and it might be a fun challenge to keep the eyes closed, but just start to shift the weight, or you can open them. You can shift the weight into the left foot and just slowly bring the heel of the right foot off the floor. So you're just starting to play with the balance, shifting into the left foot. And then maybe that right foot starts to lift all the way up off the floor. So you decide if you want the eyes open or closed. And you can always be near something to hold on to. But I always say whenever we work balance, you might start to feel like you're gonna fall at some point. You might trip over something or get wobbly. But as we work our balance, it's our ability to not fall that we're working on. Building more awareness and strength in these balancing muscles. If you're feeling good where you're at, maybe start to place the right foot somewhere on the left leg for tree pose. And again, you can always hold on to something if you need support. I encourage you to play a little bit, maybe eyes open or closed, or somewhere in the middle. Play with your gaze. So if you're focusing on something that's a little bit closer to you, maybe you start to find something a little bit higher up and a little bit further away. Feel the energy of the left leg and the energy of the right leg both press in towards the midline, both hugging to the middle. Take just one more breath. And then gently release the right foot to the floor. And just take a moment to observe the sides. And then start to invite a little bit of movement if you need to rock it out. So find your rooting with both feet on the floor, nice grounding. You can play, and I encourage to play with keeping the eyes open or closed. Maybe you kind of come in and out of it. And then begin to allow the weight to shift onto the right foot. So really feel the sole of the right foot root into the floor and lift the left heel. So you'll notice where you kind of need to press. Your body mostly instinctively knows, but I want you to bring a lot of awareness to where your weight is trying to shift in the sole of the right foot. And just notice how it kind of like rocks from side to side, right? It doesn't stay in one spot. It's constantly working. You're feeling good, maybe the left foot lifts up off of the floor. And then start to place the left foot on the leg. Again, this is just an option. You can let it float, or you can place it on the leg, or you can always keep the toes on the floor. So wherever you're at is perfect. Finding your tree pose or your variation of tree today. Play with your gaze, play with eyes open or closed. Couple more breaths wherever you're at. Feeling the left and the right hug to the middle. Noticing if your sides are different, they likely are, but one is not worse than the other one. Their strengths are just different. One more breath. Always come back to your breath. Excuse me, and release the foot to the floor. Again, notice any difference in sides. And then you can add a little movement. And let's reach the arms up overhead. Take a full body stretch. And just take a lean over to the right. And over to the left. Come back to the middle, release the arms. Roll the shoulders back and forward. And let's take our legs wide again here. Find that nice rooting, and the rooting might feel a little different now than it did before. It might not. Just notice, observe. Turn your right toes towards the short edge of the mat. Let's bring the arms up into a T. And find that warrior two once again. So bend into your right leg as deep as it'll go. But this time, let's add a reverse. So reach your right arm up overhead. Add that side body stretch. Nice rooting in the feet. And then come all the way back up, straighten the front leg. And switch sides. So turn your left toes towards the short edge of your mat. Arms into a T. Bend into your left leg. And reverse the warrior here. So reach the left arm up overhead. So as you bend into the knee, feel that reach. Last breath. Come all the way back up, straighten the leg. Turn all 10 toes back to the long edge of the mat. And then bring the feet together. Reach the arms up overhead. And then hinge at the hips and start to come forward. So you can bend into the knees, kind of push your booty back a little bit. Again, you can stay with that half leg or fold. Doesn't matter what side of the mat you're facing at this point. But you'll continue to bring that all the way to the ground and sit. So coming to sit. And let's find butterfly legs here. So bring the soles of the feet together and the knees wide. And as always, you can always sit up on something. Let the hips elevate. And especially in butterfly, you can always slide to something underneath the knees. Option instead of butterfly, if butterfly is not working for you this morning, is to just cross the legs, or again, keep the legs out in front of you. Straighten up the knees. Sit up nice and tall. And you can stay with this seated tall, or you can start to hinge from the hips and come a little forward. And you can round the spine here. You can release the head and the neck. Allow your body to really soften into this posture. So making it more yin-like. So if you come to yin with me on Mondays, you're really just allowing your body to release into the shape wherever you are. So allowing gravity to hold you in this space. You can bring your focus back to your breath. Finding your sweet spot in the pose. So you don't want to go too far that it feels like too much, but you want to be just right. Take just one more breath wherever you're at in your butterfly. And slowly start to bring yourself up and extend the legs out in front of you. Shake them out. And start to come all the way on to your back. So if we're not going to go right to Shavasana, but if you know that you like extra props underneath the legs or anywhere in Shavasana, just have to make sure it's nearby so you don't have to kind of lift yourself up like a crazy amount to get yourself there. And as you come onto your back, just take a moment to settle in, new perspective. Hug your knees into your chest, give them a squeeze, and then allow the knees to drop over to the right. So your knees can stay stacked, your feet can be together, or you can always have your feet apart and have like your left foot closer to your left side of your body. Or, oh, excuse me, or you can cross the legs. So you can have your knees and legs completely stacked. They can be separated or they can be crossed. So don't feel overwhelmed with the options. Just let your body tell you what it needs. And if it doesn't need or want a twist, that's fine too. You can just stay on your back wherever you're at, or take something completely different. One more breath in your twist here. Let the knees come all the way back up to the sky, back into the belly, and then let them drop to the other side. So again, you've got the same options. For this twist today, I encourage taking whatever you took on the first side. If you get there and on the side it doesn't work, then take something else. Last couple of breaths in your twist. Come all the way back up. Bring the knees back to the middle. Maybe hug your knees in one final time. Give them a squeeze. And then allow your legs to fall out in front of you. Arms fall by your side. Coming into your final Shavasana. So always welcome to bring anything underneath the legs for support. I always say that if laying on your back is not comfortable for you for any reason, you can always lay on your side and come into a fetal position or find a different position. But I just want you to find a place where you can fully relax your body. Oops. So you're in complete and total relaxation and gratitude for your practice this morning. And if at any point you feel like you need to move from the position that you're at, don't feel like you can't ignore your body telling you you need to shift. Shavasana. Starting to bring some awareness back into the space. Starting to bring some awareness back into your body. Inviting small movements back in. Wiggling your fingers and your toes. Rolling out wrists and ankles. And rocking your head from side to side. When you feel ready, starting to roll on to one side. And again, when you feel ready, starting to press yourself all the way up, coming into a comfortable seat. Keeping your focus inside. Bringing your hands to your heart center, gently bow your head. Thanking yourself for making it to your mat today, for your practice, for your energy, for your breath, and most importantly, for yourself. Namaste.
Hi, everyone. This is Z from Yonkers Public Library. Thanks so much to Sally Pinto and Alexis and Barbara from Newark. Thank you to our community partners, WJCS, the City of Yonkers Office for the Aging, Westchester County Legislator Ruth Walter, Friends of Crestwood Library, and Yonkers Public Library for making this phenomenal partnership. And we thank each and every one of you for being part of our wellness community. Be well, stay well.